You're listening to episode 170 of Lifestyle Locker Radio with Thomas Jones. Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Handt, and welcome to Lifestyle Locker Radio, where we help you create an awesome life and lifestyle. From nutrition to fitness, mindfulness to peak performance, and relationships to money mindset, we bring you on an amazing journey to help you unleash your human potential. So let me just give you a little bit of his background. He's a psychotherapist, an author, a musician, and founder of an innovative technique, the paradox process, which we're going to dive into quite a bit today. The paradox process, which employs negative thoughts in order to produce a perception polarization. Essentially, how to change your life by learning to direct your mind. In the world of medicine, his approach would be described as renegade. However, the proof is inarguable. Jones has been highly successful in his work for the last 40 years with a clientele that includes CEOs, television journalists, Oscar, Emmy, and Tony Award-winning performers, doctors, musicians, artists, health coaches, social workers, other psychologists, and business professionals across the globe. Jones has shown them how to strategize for success in every area of their lives, from manifesting their career to their dreams to achieving intimate, loving, lasting relationships. Jones currently lectures, teaches workshops and retreats, and practices privately in New York City, where he resides with his family. So here's our guest today, Thomas Jones. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Lifestyle Locker Radio. We have an amazing guest today. You're going to actually love this guy. Our pre-chat, we had a lot in common, a lot in uncommon as well, which I think is so amazing because we're going to learn a lot from Thomas Jones today. So let me just give you a litttle bit of his background. He's a psychotherapist, an author, a musician, and founder of an innovative technique, the paradox process, which we're going to dive into quite a bit today. This paradox process employs negative thoughts in order to produce perception polarization. Essentially, how to change your life by learning to direct your mind. How cool is that, right, everyone? How directing your mind. So in the world of medicine, his approach would be described as renegade. I think he's a full-blown renegade too, right? However, the proof is inarguable. So Thomas, I am pumped to have you. Welcome to the show. Our audience is going to absolutely love this. I'm pre-framing that because I know they're going to love it.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So let's dive a little bit into your background because people are going to be able to go to your website and learn a little bit more. But I want to hear a little bit of your story because you have a really cool little video right on your homepage. It's a little drawing, which I think is phenomenal. Right? It's a very 50-word explanation of what you do. I want more than 50 words, right? I want you to go back in time a little bit to say, like, well, we had to create this paradox process, but what were the leading thoughts and steps, journey you had to go on?
Okay, that's great. So, yeah, I like that little video, right? That's
great.
Fun. I had a kind of a rough childhood. I felt hard done by. My dad didn't love me, et cetera, et cetera. I wasn't sold into slavery, but it wasn't a picnic. And it left me with a lot of feelings and emotions. It left me with a lot of upset that I frankly didn't know how to manage. And, even when I was a kid, I thought, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. This is not how it's supposed to be. So I went into this work and I started working with kids that were remanded from the court system. And we started working with them. We created a therapeutic community where we got to work with all these different techniques. We worked with transactional analysis and Gestalt therapy and primal therapy and everything that was out there. And it was fascinating. The thing about kids is you can see that their spirit is still intact.
Right. We haven't been beaten down yet, right?
Yeah, there's still a spark in them. And that was exciting to see. And so as I learned all these different techniques, I was interested that, none of them really took away the pain. None of them really gave you insight and information. None of them were fast enough or quick enough for the issues or the problems that people seem to have. And so about that time, I met a guy who later became my partner, a guy named Roger Bell. And he was also running a therapeutic community. And we thought, what if we put together a laboratory for living and start experimenting with all these different techniques and see what we can come up with. Because again, all the modalities that were out there, each one of them had something to offer, but none of it really put you over the top. And so what was interesting is that we had many false starts. You know what it's like. You start, you fail, you start, you.
Uh-huh.
And so we finally stumbled on a kind of meditation. And we weren't particularly into meditation, but it was interesting that this meditation was something that you could direct and that you could specifically state an issue and start working directly on that issue. And so that was fascinating. So my challenge for it was, I'm going to take the issues that have been on me all my life. This, daddy doesn't love me, and, oh, I'm in pain, or whatever it was. And I really went after those issues using this meditation. And my metric was that if this doesn't eliminate it, then it isn't worth pursuing. And so what was interesting to me is that doing this work and working on this meditation, and we worked with a mantra, a very simple mantra: accept the unacceptable, right?
Okay.
And so started working on that issue. And what started to happen is I started to see my relationship with my dad, and I started to see it in a very objective way. And an insight came to me, like a shot in the head, that he actually did love me, that he actually did care about me. And it didn't come as information, it came as an experience. And I literally experienced that this relationship was not what I thought it was all my life, that it was, that I actually was loved and I was cared about. And for me, that was a transformational experience. And I thought, this is a technique worth perfecting. So Roger and I were really excited. We thought, oh, the world is going to beat a path to our door. Well, not so. Because it was a meditation, it takes a lot of work, as you know.
Yeah, of course it
And
does.
so it takes a lot of focus and a lot of concentration. And people were not that willing to sit there and meditate on one aspect of an issue after another, after another. And so we had some success teaching it, but we realized that we had to transform this thing. We had to get it streamlined so that it would be more accessible and more user friendly. So we devised a way of codifying it, of creating what we call keys or keystrokes that would actually trigger the meditation. And so now we had a process that you could state an issue that had an emotional charge and hit this key, which would trigger a meditation that would clear the emotional charge and give you insight.
Huh.
Once
Interesting.
again, we're very excited, thought the world was going to beat a path to our door. And, it was hard to even give this thing away. So we went to the National Institute of Mental Health and asked that they send a researcher down. And they sent a researcher down, they sent a psychiatrist down. And we asked, do you have an issue that has an emotional charge? And he said, yes, as a matter of fact, I haven't spoken to my mother for 6 months. Right?
Okay, there you go.
And we were like, perfect. Classic, but perfect. And so we put him through this process, and he had a big breakthrough: tears, realization, understanding. Called his mother the next day, resolved the issue, and we thought, wow, we're in. We're going to get funding for this thing. It's going to be great. We waited a week. We heard nothing. We waited 2 weeks. Finally, we called, and they said, this is a little too far to the left for us, so we're going to pass on this process. So, I think at the end of the day, it was probably a good thing, because we continued to develop it according to what we wanted to do and what we wanted to explore. And so what we've created is a very powerful discipline of the mind that you can use at will on a situation that you're in, without the need for somebody to be there and walk you through it. You're a runner, so you understand physical discipline.
Yeah.
This is about mental discipline. This is about a gym for the mind, giving the mind the kind of workout that it needs. And what we discovered is that the more you use this thing, the more powerful, the more focused you get. And so it's been an interesting journey. You were talking about running before, and what excited me about that idea was, I want to work with you and clear whatever the emotional and whatever the blocks are in your mind that are stopping you from getting where you want to go.
Yeah.
When we first discovered this process, I thought of all these applications. First was physical. I thought this
Huh?
is an incredible healing process, right? As you do this process, you're also restoring your immune system and so forth and so on. So it was fascinating to me. But I did think of athletics. You know, I am a Yankees fan. And so I thought, what a tool this would be for someone who's in a slump or somebody who's anxious or somebody who can't get out of their own way, because it's a quick, easy, accessible way to get yourself out of your way and to move toward what it is you want to do.
I want to just circle back for a second. You mentioned something as you were going through the different therapies when you were creating, or during creation, I should say, and doing things like hypnotherapy. Did you have a background in music, did you say also?
Oh, yeah. I've been a musician all my life. I was in the music business as well.
While creating this, it seems quite interesting that you like the application of the mind, but the creative part of the musician was able to help in this development. When we think of like science, as a society, it's like it is what it is, what it is, what it is, and
Right.
that's not true. Right? That's so far from the truth. That creative mind, that having to think a little really outside the box and look at that 50,000-foot view and go, we need to look over here a little bit because that may influence something else. Did music, things like hypnotherapy have like profound changes on the design of this or no?
Well, the thing about hypnotherapy that was fascinating to me was that you could get to this site in the mind that
Mhm.
was incredibly fertile ground. And, you know, you could get access to the mind in that way. And that was exciting. But hypnotherapy, you can make these suggestions and you can guide people through that, but it has its limitations. And beyond a certain point, it won't break through your belief system. The
Okay.
thing about music, when you're a musician, you think in terms of, I was a producer and arranger and a player and so forth. And so you think of the orchestration of it all, right?
Mhm.
And so I think where it helped in creation in this process was that any issue that you took, let's say that you're mad at a friend because they didn't show up. So there's this anger, but along with the anger, there's this feeling of disappointment. There's this hurt. There's this anticipation of what's going to happen next. There's an orchestration of feelings and emotions that when you understand that, you can work on the whole thing and you can bring it to a very different place. It's kind of a holistic look at what's happening.
Yeah. So the thought versus like thinking of just being pissed off versus like what are the outcomes or the circumstances that are happening because of that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the mind is capable of processing 2 billion bits of information per
Yeah.
minute. So we go, when we're
Yeah.
upset, we just go in 100 different directions. And, how do you catch all of that? And so we devised a way, a hierarchy of emotion, a hierarchy of behavior that allowed us to get into what's going on and to kind of take it down by the roots.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think, the creative process, I was not restricted by, the National Institute of Mental Health or any other discipline in terms of what I was looking for and what I was trying to create. And so it was fun to just free range and see where this thing went.
So, if we're looking at this and we've created this paradox process, is the paradox process just, am I showing up in your office and we're sitting and going through all of this? Is this something we do at home? Is this like a fit? Does it have any physical activity to it? What does it look like?
Here's what it'd look like. You'd walk into my office and you'd have an issue that you want to work on or something that you want to achieve, right?
It may not just be a mental challenge in a sense like, oh, I haven't talked to my mom in 6 months. It may be, hey, listen, I want to, I don't know, start a business down the road. And I don't have the capacity in my head to do it.
Exactly. What I like is I like people that are in the game, people that want something, people are after something,
Mm.
and that they're stuck or they have issues or they can't see where they want to go. So I would literally ask you, what is it you want to create in your life? And then we'd explore what's standing in the way. And we'd work on each obstacle, and you would see and experience those obstacles being removed. So by the end of it, you know, is it miraculous? It looks miraculous.
Mhm.
But it's a very logical process of getting all of those things out of the way so that you know that you're capable. Remember, I was talking about the kids that I worked with in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
The thing that was so inspiring about them is they had this spirit like, I can do anything, I can be anything, even in spite of everything that they went through. And I realized that's who we are. And so when somebody sits across from me, I'm looking for who they really are and how to bring them back to that.
Their spark or their why, like their purpose for living, if you
Yeah.
will.
The authentic self, which
Mm.
is incredible, radiant, powerful.
When you're working with people, the type of clients you've worked with is pretty vast. Do you see people all different age ranges too? Because I know you've worked with CEOs and Oscar and Emmy and Tony Award winning, performers and everybody under the sun, in that success world. But what about for a teenager? So like I know you had those moments during development when you were working with problem children. Do you still end up seeing any of that?
I do. What's interesting is that we created a program. When I saw the value of this process, I realized that getting people early in their lives, before they get entrenched in their stories and their images and their issues, is a very valuable thing to do. So we created a social emotional learning program for teenagers, and we put it into the school system. We're actually in a couple of schools in New York, and we're working with the state of New Jersey to put a couple of program in there as well.
Oh, cool. And what age ranges did you say?
Middle school,
Middle
15 to
school?
15 to 18.
That's great.
It circles back almost to the beginning of my career when I was working in a drug program.
Mm.
We're working with at-risk ex-addicts in order to break the belief systems that they're in and give them some tools to work through their recovery. And so
Yeah.
that's been very powerful. That's interesting as well.
What I love and I've heard so far about this process and what I've read and watched is I don't see, you're saying take XYZ drug and it's going to fix your problems. You know, I'm very grateful that you're actually wanting the human to have a human experience, and not numb it down or hide whatever it may be or with some kind of chemical.
Yeah, I think, we're so over medicated as a society that people don't even know what's bothering them anymore. They just have this vague feeling of unease. And I think, my partner I used to like to smack him when he said this, but he used to say, you got to feel it to heal it, right?
Mhm.
Which was cute. But the sentiment is true that you've got to have the experience. You've got to know what's
Mm.
going on here in order to get curious enough and motivated enough to solve it. I think what drugs inadvertently do is they take away the motivation to solve what's going on.
It's interesting because, in my practice, in my chiropractic practice, we take care of a lot of kids,
Mhm.
not necessarily for pain, but for health and well-being. And yeah, from time to time, we have kids that are athletic, that get injured or little kids that fall. But, when they're starting to come in, a lot of them, if they were just referred to us, I'll see little, like still being in a stroller that are on antidepressants. Does that even make sense to me? I don't get it. That's not my place. I can't say don't do that, but it just makes me wonder what the doctors are thinking. Whoever is prescribing these things to these, like, 1 and 2 year olds, why is that happening? And why are they not going to someone like you that can, let's let them have this experience and this is normal, or, let's help them an easier way, which is going to be much more profound as they age.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Especially with the middle school kids. One of the things we try to explain to them is this is all part of the human experience.
Mm,
You know,
that's so good.
we created a little graphic about the human backpack and what's in the human backpack. And the feelings that are in there is I don't belong, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, people don't understand me, I'm a fraud and a phony. And so we get them clear about this is the human condition. This is not you. This is not your problems. You've just kind of adopted them because that's what's available.
Yeah, and also, I mean, at that age, so many things are changing in your life, relationships and hormones and everything above and beyond. When we were that age, we were definitely a weird bunch, but that's normal. You're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be a 10-year-old and you're not supposed to be a 30-year-old. You're supposed to be like, 10, 12, or whatever, 13, 14, 15, 18-year-old. That's where you're supposed to be.
Yes. And you're supposed to be scaldingly embarrassed sometimes, and you're supposed to be anxious sometimes, and you're supposed to be worried about what other people, it's all very normal. But if you can manage those feelings in a matter of fact kind of way, in a way that it does, nobody diagnoses it as a pathology, then you got a chance to kind of work your way through it.
Yeah. I'm sure your practice, you had a different type of practice well before the paradox process. But, when someone says, I feel depressed, is it okay if someone dies for you to feel depressed for a little bit? Right? A
Yeah,
family member or something, right? Isn't that normal?
absolutely.
Like, you should feel that, shouldn't you? I feel like,
Yeah. I was just writing a blog on my website about down in the valley. What do you do when you're upset? Because you're going to spend about 40 to 50% of your time there. So it's okay. First order of business, don't take it personally. See it objectively and, work with it. Stop resisting it. Stop fighting it.
I can't wait to see more of this process in action, because the way I get to see my patients, the people I get to interact with every day on my podcast, and people that I get to help outside of my practice, the digital world I get to work with, people are struggling in all sorts of different areas, and I know they come to you for this. It's like, financially, emotionally, physically, weight wise, whatever it may be. And I think the biggest obstacle for every single person is what's going on in between, those 5 inches or whatever, 6 inches in between their ears. Like, that's your limiting factor. It's not that you can't exercise. It's not that you can't read a book. It's not that you can't study or pray or whatever the thing is. You can do all of those things. You're just telling yourself now that you can. You need to be able to figure out a way to, break that barrier down and be okay with not being, if I want to run it, like we said, 100-mile ultra marathon, I can't decide tomorrow, if I've never ran before, that next week I'm going to run this ultra marathon. That doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
There's got to be an evolution, a process, some training. I got to put in some of the hard, uncomfortable work. I got to deal with reality,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, I think that's what it sounds like you get to do with people all the time.
Yeah. My theory is not let's fix people. Okay. I think that model has to go. I think it's let's uncover people. Let's reveal people to themselves. Let's bring them back to who they actually are. That to me is a joyous journey. And again, somebody walks into my office, I'm looking for who they really are. And I'm quickly bringing them there
Mm.
because, I want to play. I want them to play. I want them to have the joy that you can actually have.
You've been doing this for a long time, right?
I started working 1972.
Okay, there you go.
How many years is that?
More than I'm alive. I was born in 79, right?
Well, there you go.
This is powerful. When you come across a person like Thomas here that sits you down in his office and he looks at you, that's tens of thousands of hours of training that's actually looking at you and working and getting ready to open his mouth and help you. That's very powerful. Experience does have a huge play on how people can change and heal. And even, you're going to see something, I believe, Thomas, that, someone that may be in their type of practice like you were in 1 or 2 years, they may be really good and intelligent, intellectual, and remember all, got straight A's in school, but you can't replace education with experience. You need to have both of them. And I think you have that wealth of knowledge for people, which is awesome.
In a way, what I say is, I don't think there's someone who could come into my office and surprise me, but you never know.
Yeah. Challenge. All right, everybody, challenge them. Let's go. Get in there. No, I think but that's important. You're out here, you're doing a podcast. It's not like you're just starting your business and you needed some help, promoting it. This is you sharing a passion, your purpose, your authentic self with the world.
It's true. And, what motivates me now, because I didn't particularly seek the public eye, that wasn't my thing necessarily, but what became increasingly obvious to me was that I have something of great value and I need to deliver that. And rather than look at the messenger, look at the message. it was too important for me to say, I'm not going to put this out there.
Yeah. It's not about you. It's about the process that's been created through you.
Yeah.
Right. I think this is important for the audience to follow. We were connected through a mutual friend, Emily Fletcher, who we've heard on this show before. And if you haven't, she's, just throwing the top of the URL lifestylelocker.com. It's really neat that when you start to hang around people that are influential in your own life, like I learned from people like Thomas. I absolutely love this. This is my class. I mean, this is my class for the world to listen to, right? If you start to hang around these types of communities, whether you're into fitness or whether you're into the meditation or the mindfulness or sleep hacks or whatever it may be, when you start to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, are really in love with what they do, amazing things can transform and transpire around you as well. When I looked up your stuff and Emily sent it over, I said, wow, this guy is super cool. We got to do this, right? This is something. Because frankly, neither of us need to spend the time or energy doing this. We're doing this for a purpose, for
Yes,
a reason.
absolutely.
So, I want to just give a shout out to Emily and say thank you for this connection. But I also want people to know you got to head over to Thomas's website, head over to the paradoxprocess.org. Check out that cool little video. If you scroll down, halfway through that first page, it's a really cool little video which describes it, which is, this whole podcast in about, I don't know, 30 seconds or something. It's not as good as a podcast, right? This is great because we had a cool conversation. But I want you to all be able to experience the power of what he has. And what are other great places for people to connect with you, Thomas?
We're doing a workshop on November 4th called Resourceful States of Mind, right? November 4th, it's at our loft, 306 West 37th Street, 12th floor. It's about creating resourceful states of mind. We find ourselves in these bereft states of mind, fear or anger or guilt or worry or doubt, and they're very draining. They take all your resources. And so really what my work is about is creating resourceful states so that whatever it is that you're trying to create, you got the power to do it. You're connected to it. So that's what that workshop is about.
Yeah. Do you do workshops pretty regularly in the city?
I do.
You do? Great.
Yeah.
All of the details right through the paradoxprocess.org. You can find all of that under the events tab. And also, please share us a little bit about your book. I would love for the audience to know a little bit about this book. I know that's not what we came on here, but I want you to plug this because I just read a little bit about it. I didn't grab it yet, but love games.
Love games. I made a study, an inadvertent study about relationship because, again, I've been in this work over 4 decades. And so it's fascinating to watch how people relate and how they miscommunicate. And so what I tried to do in that book was put in all the experience that I've had and all the knowledge and all the tools that I've learned in order for people to connect, in order for them to create the love they want or improve the love that they're in, or even get over the love that they had. Because I think each stage of that is important. And so this is sort of a manual or a workbook for how to.
Definitely check that out. I'm going to probably end up grabbing it. I'm an incessant learner. I love it. I've become such a reader this past year. I'm going to definitely grab it. And also, would you mind just sharing a little bit? I know you have a few meditations on your site that people can actually listen to, I believe, right through your site. Is that correct?
Yeah, there are some meditations on there. There are some visualizations on there. Absolutely.
So if I'm someone that's into, meditations, these visualizations, and I want to get a taste, is there one that's better to listen to? I know that I'm just looking at them now, and I know they're pretty specific, but is there one that you resonate with more than another?
I think there's value in each one because each one is trying to create that resourceful state of mind. So
Okay, perfect.
pick one that speaks to you and then, go with that one. That's how I'd go.
Awesome. I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Thomas. Thank you so much for being here. This has been awesome. And I like to finish up with one question. This is maybe a little surprise, but I hope you're ready. If you had to tell someone to do 3 things tomorrow or even today that would help them unleash their human potential just a little bit more, what would you say? Do this, this, and this.
Wow. I think first order of business, I would tell somebody, rediscover your dreams. Okay, reconnect with your dreams, with what you really want, who you really are in the world. Reconnect with that because we are creatures of dreams. And when we connect with that, now this is the stuff worth living. That's number one. Number two, I'd say take an honest inventory. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at what's going on inside of you and really be honest with yourself, as ruthlessly honest as you can be. And I think number three, find some collaboration in your growth. Find partners or helpers or therapists or whoever you need to find. Get with growing again. Those are the three things I would do.
I like that. I think you're the first one that said collaboration and growth. I think that's huge. Find a partner in crime, if you will, that will help you out. Right.
I think we need it.
Yeah. Listen, there's something to say with community. I mean, that's how we found each other here on this show today.
Yeah.
Right.
Growth can be a lonely process without that collaboration.
Thomas, I want to thank you. This has been a phenomenal process, phenomenal show. Being able to learn from you and be able to share this with our audience, I think they're gonna totally vibe with it. We love learning from people that go a little bit against the grain.
Well, you come to the right place.
You fit that piece of the puzzle, so I appreciate you for that. So thank you so much.
Sure, my pleasure.
Hey, I know you love that episode with Thomas Jones and the Paradox Process. To connect with him, to get more details, to find out more about him and what he does and how he does what he does, if you didn't learn all of that in the episode, why don't you head over to lifestylelocker.com/paradox process. We will have all of his details there, how to connect with him online, socially, and actually even in person. So if you're that person that wants to connect a little more, you can head over to lifestylelocker.com/paradox process, and we will connect you with him. And here's the last piece of the puzzle. While you're on the website, you can get a free ebook called Inside the Locker, which talks about unleashing your human potential just a little bit more. It's a free ebook. We want our audience to get it and grab it for free. So please go ahead and do that and let me know what you think. We're going to revise it pretty soon as my life keeps evolving and I learn so much from these amazing guests just like Thomas. So thank you again so much from wherever and whenever you're listening. This is Dr. Josh Handt for Lifestyle Locker Radio. Peace out.